Welcome to The Power of Change, the podcast that delves into the intersection of leadership and technology in the finance world. I'm your host, Michael Praeger, the CEO and co-founder of AvidXchange. In each episode, I dive into the leadership topics and industry trends with business leaders, partners, and customers who embrace the power of change. Our guest for this episode is Patrick Thean, CEO and co-founder Rhythm Systems. Patrick is a renowned speaker, CEO coach, and serial entrepreneur as well as friend. Best-selling author by USA Today and the Wall Street Journal. And in 1996, Patrick was honored as E&Y Entrepreneur of the Year, as well as number 151 in Inc. 500, and a similar award that I received in 2019 from E&Y. So we share that in common as well as other things. And currently, Patrick's CEO of Rhythm Systems, which really focused on guiding CEOs towards really transforming breakthroughs of common failures to help them achieve their dreams in their business. Patrick is also the author of Rhythm, How to Achieve Breakthrough Execution and Accelerated Growth, as well as Execute Without Drama and Predictable Results. And then the one thing that we all know about Patrick is that he is a Cornell University alum.
Yes.
Yes, with a Master's in Engineering and Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. So lots of engineering in Patrick's background. But the most current thing that Patrick and actually myself did is we created our journey together, 20 plus years, actually closer to probably 30 plus years since we started interacting with each other, and wrote a book together called The Journey of CEO Success, The 7 Practices for High Growth Leadership, which you see right here. And I'm sure we'll talk more about the book as podcast goes on. We've known each other for kind of a long time. You've always been a kind of a serial entrepreneur ever since you decided to leave Cornell and become a computer scientist or computer engineering with Oracle. But maybe just, share us a little bit about, at what point in your academic studies did, you become interested in entrepreneurialism, and how did that kind of translate to what excites you most about working with entrepreneurs today?
So Mike, first, thank you for having me. This is fantastic. I'm so thrilled to be here with you. I would say that I've always been selling, even in my high school days, in my Cornell days. So I never thought of entrepreneurship as something I was going to do. I just always had fun in life. And this serial thing about multiple companies, I never thought I was going to do that, frankly. When I was at Cornell, I loved Steve Jobs like most tech folks did. And I thought I was going to build one company and have it endure forever. And so that did not happen. I sold my first company successfully, and that started my journey towards this thing called serial entrepreneur.
So let's talk a little bit about the book. And, in the book, we have 7 practices for high growth leadership. Can you share with our audience and our listeners here, about how we develop these practices? And, you can even work in the breakfast, lunch, dinners that we had to leading up to how formulating these 7 practices.
First of all, you said it earlier, these 7 practices were curated over the many, many sessions that you and I have had. And when I work with you, I always think of the image of Steve Jobs with his coach kind of taking walks and thinking through issues, whatever issues that they came up with and whatever solutions they could come up with together. So in our 20 plus 30 years relationship, that's how it's always been. And in that, we curated 7 key items. The first thing I would say is I always believed, and this has proven to be true in all my work, that we have to first start with us. So you got to first start with yourself. So the first 2 practices are about helping you and other CEOs be as great as you can be. Then the next 2 practices are about taking care of what you've given or what you have. So I call this execution. Whatever you have that's in your company, in your business, you want to do it well. So you want to execute well. So the next 2 practices are really about making sure you don't get surprised and you execute well with your team. Then once you've done that, you want to make sure you've taken care of the people around you so they can do well. And finally, the last practice is about strategy around your best customers. And so I would say start with yourself, move to getting whatever you've done well even better, then make sure your team is well fed, well prepared, and then take care of your customer.
All right, that's pretty well said. So you've interacted with lots of CEOs, mentoring, coaching, 20 plus years. And one of the things that we, talk about every time we get together is, what lessons learned have we experience since the last time we had breakfast. So let me turn it back on to you. Across all your CEOs you've worked with, what are some of the key lessons learned that for you has helped you become a better mentor?
So I will give some of the book away so that people will look forward to getting into the book. I would say the first practice is about being curious. I believe that curiosity is really the key cornerstone to everyone growing and to CEOs or leaders being better. For example, I've been coaching with you for actually 25 years. That's like a long time. That's a long time. And Michael, I can tell you that when I come to visit you in your place, I am not bored. I am not bored because I'm asking myself this one question. What is it about Michael Praeger that I don't yet know? And I expect you to teach me something.
And you learn that much.
Yes, right? And I expect you to teach me something that day that I don't yet know about you. So that is, you can call that my mental Jedi mind trick or something, to keep myself fully interested in the person I'm working with. I've been fortunate enough that I've got coaching relationships, not as long as yours. Yours is the longest. But I've coached people for 10, 15 years. And that I've realized is part of my secret of being very engaged and being very excited, literally, to see them. By the way, that also works in my marriage. I mean, I've been married 34 years, and my wife's name is Pei, and I've applied that to our marriage. I've said, like, okay, what is it about Pei that I don't yet know? And I want to seek to learn something about her that I don't yet know. So I found that one thing helps me be a much better mentor.
Okay, let's lean into a little bit of the role of curiosity and being a really effective, leader. Maybe talk a little bit about, the counterbalance of fear versus curiosity and the importance of kind of leaning into curiosity versus fear and becoming a better leader.
We write about this in the book because oftentimes when people go through change, most people say, hey, I love change. I can deal with change. But the truth is most people are a bit scared of change. And so we tend to pause a little bit, gather ourselves and figure out how to adapt to the next change. Something I've observed is that what stops you from changing is actually fear. You're scared. You're afraid of what is coming that you don't know. By the way, our society teaches us that, right? Like all these sayings like, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. What the hell, man? I don't even want any devils around me. But people say that, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. So I found that if you can just take that fear and change it around and go, well, I don't know, what is it about this that I don't yet know? You could replace that fear of curiosity and then you could go quicker. And in my experience, you tell me what's your experience. In my experience, I found that when I jumped into something, it was usually not as bad as I thought it was, right? So usually we go in and go, oh my God, that stops us. So if we can replace that with curiosity and stuff, oh my God, we go, wow. By the way, most of us were born as kids with this thing I call wonder. We see something for the first time and wow, that's cool. That's wonderful. As we get older, we've seen it 10, 20 times before, 100 times before. We kind of lose that wonder. So I'm also hoping that the mindset of curiosity will help us rediscover some of that wonder and replace fear with the combination of curiosity and wonder. Never done that before, never seen that before. Versus thinking, oh my God, that's scary.
No, I think that's really well said. So speaking of mindsets, one of the mindsets that we have here at AvidXchange is around customer obsession. And you talk about, putting customers first in your business. So kind of foundationally, when you think of kind of, structuring, organizing your business, what have you done in order to make sure that customers are first?
So I would first say that not all customers are first. I know that sounds shocking, but I would say that we have the concept in the book of the core customer. Core customer is the customer that you can't live without, the one that grow with you into your future, where their success will be maximized and they'll grow with you and help you be maximized as well. I think those are the most important customers. I think those are the customers that you've got to design your product around. You've got to design your customer success journey around. You've got to design everything around those customers. And I think that as companies get larger, like tons of customers, and you've got customers pulling at you from all different directions, how do you know which ones to say yes to and which ones to say no to when they ask for feature enhancements and all kinds of things? And I think that really understanding who's your core customer, saying yes to those guys and gals, and then designing processes around them, I think that's the key to success.
Be really intentional on kind of product market
very
fit.
Intentional.
The one question that I was thinking about all day is Patrick has been so instrumental in helping me at AvidXchange create rhythms around our business, rhythms around our meeting rhythms, week in sync type rhythms to stay aligned. And the importance, I kind of call it, rhythms is kind of the key piece, creating kind of organization out of chaos. And by definition, in a high growth company, there's lots of chaos, right? So maybe turn it back to Patrick. You're kind of the architect of rhythms across all your customers. What are some of the personal rhythms that you've had that enabled you to reach success over the years, whether it be a weekly, monthly, daily type of rhythm?
Well, I think you've, first of all, done a great job at AvidXchange and yourself personally with rhythms. I think you embody that. What I've realized about rhythms in general is that it is a suspension for your company. So this is why when I want to learn something, I put a rhythm in it. When I want to get to know somebody, I think about how I can do something that's more of a rhythm, because I've learned that one event doesn't create any long-term change. For long-term change, you need to continue. So I guess my favorite rhythm, or my most important rhythm, is how I get myself ready for the day. So I call this my daily open. This is one thing that sounds really simple, but I found it's really hard to do. So my daily open is I open with prayer, and I'm grateful to God for 2 or 3 people that He's brought my way. And then I think about what were my victories yesterday. And if I don't have any victories, then okay, what was something that didn't go very well yesterday? I want to learn something from yesterday. And then I think about very intentionally, what are the 3 most important things I'm going to get done today? I do that well some days. I don't do that well some days, but that's my intention. And then the second one I would say is it's how I close my week. So when I close my week, it's a very similar rhythm, but the intention is very different. I want to close my week with, again, looking for victories that happen. And I want to see what has happened that I can learn, something that I can do a little bit better, something that worked really well. And then finally, what are the 3 most important things for me to do next week? And I do that on a Friday so that I have the weekend to let it kind of sit in my subconscious brain. And then on Monday, I confirm it. And that's how I have a great week every single week.
Well said. So last kind of bonus question I'll ask you is in kind of the same vein, and this is going to throw you for a loop because it's not part of any of the prep items, is let's talk about mentorship a little bit. And I know for all of us, there's been people that have been in our lives at different stages, whether it be early on to, kind of our, early in our careers to kind of later in our careers. Maybe, who have some of these people been for you and kind of what impact did they have?
Wow. You did throw me for a loop. So I think there are 3 types of mentors I have. And you may not even know the answer to this question that you asked me, even though we've known each other for 30 years. I would say the first one are the what most people call the idols, Steve Jobs. Those are the guys I don't really know. And I try and study them and try and pick out some key things from them. And then there are the people around us. My dad was these are people that provided really good role models for me.
Yeah.
And by the way, you're one of them.
Well, thank you for that.
You're one of them.
Well,
you're one of them.
So
Yeah.
you have to, share
Yeah.
what did you learn from your experience with me and along your journey?
First, I would tell you that of all the CEOs I've coached, you have the best ability to kind of level up. So in the book, we talk about leveling up. And what you've been able to do, Mike, is when people give you negative feedback, you'll be like, okay, so what do I do about that? Most people go through whatever you want to call it, the multiple stages of denial, fear, whatever. But you don't kind of go through that. You kind of go, okay, so how do I get better? Help me get better. And initially, I used to think that's just an act, right? But if it's an act, it's a good one because it's been 30 years.
Yeah.
And that is, I've noticed that. So what I've learned about you is you learn faster to level up than most CEOs I work with. Because you go straight to how do I get better?
Yeah. Well, it goes back to having curiosity. I have curiosity. Why would this person give me negative feedback? So I need to seek to understand and learn.
And then the third type of mentor are coaches. I've been grateful to a couple of people that have actually been coaches to me. And, in the book we talk about, I don't think I gave his name in the book, but Richard Giordanola was one of my early mentors. And there's a story about him in the book where he helped me save my company. So I would say, don't be shy to go out and get coaches or mentors that can really dig in with you and be with you through thick and thin.
Well, this has been awesome and super excited to have you here today, Patrick. Our Power of Change podcast. It doesn't happen every day that a Georgetown guy partners with a Cornell guy, writes a book called The Journey to CEO Success. Lots of good nuggets throughout the book in terms of our journey together. And what you learn is what we've curated and working with lots of other CEOs, the experience that I've had in building AvidXchange, the 7 Practices for High Growth Leadership. It's a great read, and I'm sure our readers and listeners will enjoy reading it. Awesome.
Thank you for your
Thank you,
partnership.
Patrick.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Power of Change, presented by AvidXchange. If you like what you've heard, subscribe to our channel and leave a 5-star review. While you're waiting for the next episode, head on over to avidexchange.com for our latest research reports and business insights. And if you're interested in learning more about accounts payable automation from AvidXchange, click the link in our show notes to connect with our experts. Thanks again for listening to The Power of Change. We'll see you next time.